Okay. You on?
I'm on. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay.
Word up. Word up. Word up to your mom.
Word up to your mom. Because dads ain't worth it.
I mean, moms ain't worth it all the time either.
All I hear about is 36 hours of labor, or more than that, like 48 hours of labor. They like to hold that shit over your head.
Well, first of all, welcome to the show, everybody. We're your hosts, Ryan
and Brittany.
And we've got both mommy and daddy issues.
Mm-hmm.
But I think, and we'll see if Brittany agrees, I think that in a lot of ways, your mommy issues, they don't get talked about as often, but
they're not trendy.
I feel like they're more pervasive.
Yeah, absolutely.
How's your mom? How's she doing?
She's okay. I'm constantly kind of arguing with her about COVID shit. She wants to go into work and she doesn't have to, and so that bothers me because I'm like,
is she just like bored at home?
No, she has a ton of work to do, but she's more productive when she goes into the office.
Oh, I get
We forgot
that.
to introduce Ralph. Ralph is here.
Oh, hey, Ralph. Oh.
You're going to go drink my water? Thank you so much. Yeah, so she's just always wanting to go into the office, and I keep telling her, if you don't have to go, don't go, because you got a bunch of idiots in there that keep getting COVID.
Yeah.
And she hasn't gotten it yet, so I'm trying to keep it that way.
Quick digression, but I think I was going to say last of the Mohicans, but I think that's racist. But I am the only person like in my close circle that hasn't gotten COVID.
Yeah.
I saw a meme where it was like comparing people who haven't gotten COVID yet to like the survivors from The Walking Dead.
Yeah, they're all like ready for action.
Like, yeah, that's totally me.
It's kind of how it feels. Yeah.
So she's just busybodying around, and she wants to be in the office, and she's trying to be in the office.
She's like being careful outside of the office. Like she only hangs out with a couple of people. But there's a lot of people in Connecticut that are not vaccinated, so she is constantly like interacting with them adjacent. So even though she's not interacting with them, it's like 1 degree of separation. And I'm like, if you know that they just hung out with them, like don't like give it a few days. Like wait to see if they have symptoms, you know?
Yeah.
But I get it. Like everybody's stir crazy at this point, even though things have opened up for a while, it still feels suffocating. So, but you know, other than that, she's Brenda.
Oh, Brenda.
Oh, Brenda. My friends love her.
I used to love her. Yeah, we talked about it briefly on the podcast about how she ruined my faith in people and my trust in humanity.
That's a little extreme.
It hurt. It hurt my feelings very much. Yeah.
Yeah. No, I don't.
And it did make me feel like a sense of betrayal. It really, because I thought that we were good, you know?
Yeah.
I thought that I was in a safe place, and I did not feel safe after that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like emotionally safe, you know?
Do you want to tell the people what happened?
Yeah, well, I think we talked about it a little bit, but this is years ago. We were like a few years out of college, and I decided to visit Brittany in Connecticut. And at the time, they owned a restaurant that was a little ways into town, maybe like 20, 30 minutes. It seemed like a long way.
No, it was like 3 minutes away, but that's okay.
Maybe because we made a couple stops. Is that what happened? Maybe is it, or we had
I don't
to
remember.
drop off food or something. I don't remember.
Oh yeah, probably. But yeah.
So also in Connecticut, everything
feels so far away.
Very, very
yeah, you're like, I've been looking at the same like colonial style houses for a long time. Yeah.
Same flat, nothing, one building every 3 blocks. Until you're like, oh, I'm in a town now.
Yeah.
But anyway, so at the time they worked this restaurant. You know, when you own a restaurant, there are no days off. So there was going to be one day where Brittany had to go in. And so I was going to be spending the morning with her mom, and then Brittany would show up later. So I wake up in the morning. Brittany had already left. And I say good morning to Brenda. And I go pee like I do. And by the time I got finished peeing, I didn't see Brenda in the living room anymore. Didn't think anything of it. Went back into the room, got dressed, came back out, and Brittany was puffing her way through the door. So I'm like, what's going on? Where's Brenda? Brenda left. Brenda's at the restaurant because Brenda didn't want to be in the house alone with me, a Black woman.
Mm-hmm.
A Black woman that
she's known for years.
Had like met multiple times, had saved her daughter from multiple.
At the time, she wasn't aware of how much saving I needed and how often it happened, in her only defense.
Yeah, so that definitely, that wasn't great. But Brittany, your family has a weird relationship with Black people in general.
My family is just weird with relationships with everyone. But yeah, there's a lot of like people acting like they're not racist, but then they do shit, and I'm like, no, like you can't do that. Like they don't see how they're ignorant. Like
your aunt loves black dick.
Oh, Jesus Christ.
Are you going to cut this out of the podcast?
I don't know. We'll see. No, she exclusively dates Black men. Although now apparently she's changed her mind because that's not working out. So she's now opened it to other colors. But yeah, she really does. And I remember my grandfather telling me that he wasn't racist because he worked with a Black man and he liked him. And I'm like, that's not that's not how this works. But
I worked with a white person one time. I worked with a white person one time. They were okay.
No, that's really how it is sometimes. They don't realize how ignorant they are.
Yeah.
I can only fault them so much for that. Like there is a certain degree of like, you need to go out and educate yourself and all of that. But like, there's nothing anywhere near us where they can like experience that, and they don't read. So it's not like they're going to educate themselves that way. They just like, they watch the news all the time and they're like, everyone is either Puerto Rican or Black or white in Connecticut. Like those are the majority.
Yeah.
And they just see Black people and Puerto Ricans specifically getting in trouble all the time because that's what the news loves to promote. And so they just like, make an assumption that that's how everybody is. And that's their only exposure. So then I come home with my friends. I hung out with a lot of Puerto Ricans back in the day when I lived there. And, like there's all those stereotypes that I have to constantly tell them, like, stop it. Like, no, that's not the case. Like, no, they're not all on welfare. No, fathers are involved. And then, of course, there's like the few people that don't have, like, are on unemployment and aren't involved in their kids' lives. And then that is the, like, stereotype. They're like, see, I told you this was all worse.
Here's the thing. Your mom in that moment confirmed like every stereotype of white people I had.
Oh, yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
And by engaging in that behavior, they confirm stereotypes about white people.
I had no idea that she was going to act like that. Had I known that, like, I would have told you, first of all, so that you could have made the decision if you wanted to stay or not, or come or not. Yeah, I was, like, surprised by that whole thing.
Yeah. Give me 1 second. I need to get a sweater. I'm freezing my balls off.
Look at you. All cozy.
All cozy. So here's a tip for everyone. Here's a tip for any woman who's taller than 5'8". When buying a robe, buy a men's robe. That is the only way to guarantee it will be long enough and luxurious enough to give you the comfort and effect you want. So this is a men's robe.
Not that tall, but I still, you got to buy a men's robe.
Yeah. They just have better...
everything. They got fucking pockets. They're the right size, length, all of that.
When I was like, how old was I? I want to say like 4 or 5, maybe like 5. When I was 5, I went through this period where I wanted to be a boy so bad because in my life and in my experience, their lives are just so much easier than mine. Like they could get in trouble at school and there wouldn't really be any consequences.
You can rape whoever you want.
Well, not at 5. Like they had the best toys. And they didn't have all them extra steps when they had to pee, which was a very big concern of mine at the time.
I would just like the option to be able to pee standing up because it's difficult sometimes. I don't always.
Can we make a quick digression so I can talk about how much I hate using the bathroom?
Yeah.
So I hate using the bathroom. Just in general, like I hate
having to go.
Everything. Yeah. Like I hate having to use the toilet. I hate
breaking up my routine to have to go to, like, it's such an
inconvenience. I hate having to pee. Like I hate like it's just so tedious. Everything besides showering, which I love, once I'm in it, it's the gearing up to get in it that's awful.
I hate the after part.
But I hate like everything, all the chores that need to be done in the bathroom are just very tedious and unpleasant to me. And I hate it. I hate the bathroom.
I understand. It's a lot of work in there if you're going to do it right. There was a debate going on, I think on Twitter, about rolling your toilet paper like in squares, like keeping it a square, and then just like bunching it up. Do you have an opinion on that?
Why would you gotta square it? Like, yeah. I mean, if you're bunching it,
we got to put a poll up. With reasons.
An Instagram poll. Do you fold or bunch toilet paper?
Yeah.
Are you a civilized human being or a Neanderthal? Are you fisting your poopy butt or are you using toilet paper the proper intended way?
Wow.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, that's how I feel about it. That's my opinion. You asked for it.
Very clear, loud and clear. Got it. Always can expect a clear answer with Ryan.
Speaking of the bathroom and moms, do you remember like being a kid and like learning how to shave your legs for the first time? I remember.
I got a problem with this.
With shaving your legs?
Well, yeah, because I remember, I think it was like in 6th grade when I started shaving. And I remember my family telling me, like, you're going to be ostracized if you don't shave your legs. And now it's like 20 years later and not shaving is cool. And I'm like, I could have just held out. I would not have had to do all of this.
That's some more white people shit. Being like baby
It's so much work.
As soon as, you're not biologically a baby anymore, they're like, no, go back. Take it all off.
No, it really is.
No, so I was shaving my legs. I don't remember how old I was.
Did you get a tutorial?
No, I didn't.
Yeah.
I didn't get tutorials for
anything.
Mostly anything, to be completely honest with you. But I had cut my leg when I was shaving, and
biggest fucking fear.
Yeah, as anyone who shaves their legs knows, like that. For oddly, the skin is just thin as hell, like around your ankle. I don't know, or maybe
the fucking ankles. It's the ankles every time.
And there was so much blood on the floor, and my mom was like freaking out. What is da-da-da? And I'm like, it's calm down. I shaved my legs, and she's like, like going off with me because I didn't know how to shave my legs. I'm like, you didn't teach me.
You didn't teach me. Yeah, exactly.
This crime scene is your fault.
She was mad that there was blood, or she was mad that you hurt yourself? I feel like I know the answer.
Mad that there was blood. Yeah. She was upset about that. When I first got my period, this is a very traumatic story.
I'm so glad you brought this up because I have a story about this too.
Again, what I knew about periods is, you bleed once.
You die once a month.
I knew about the whole like shedding thing. I had older sisters. I knew about cramps and stuff like that. And I know that blood is red, right? But I didn't know the things that when you actually have a period and you live in a real world, which is, no, it's not always red. It's not always a flow. It's different. Yeah. So when I first got my period, I was 11 years old, and I got it at school. I didn't know what was going on. I got home. I'm checking things out because it wasn't red. I went downstairs and I told my mom, I'm like, Mom, I think I have an infection or something. I think something's wrong. And I guess I don't even think I described the problem. I think she just like sort of knew, like women's intuition. She knew, and she looked at me with like no jest in her voice and goes, "You got your period, dummy." And I just went back upstairs. And to this day, I hate having a period.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know that anyone enjoys it. You got to be some kind of weird feminist
for some people, isn't it? Like, or no, is it difficult for everybody? I feel like it's hard for most people, but I do feel like there's.
What do you mean by hard? Like painful and a mess and a pain in the ass?
Yeah.
Yeah, right? That seems to be the consensus. I know like 2 people that are like, oh, it's no big deal. And like, I just deal with it and then everything's fine. And I'm like, oh, clearly you don't have any like fertility issues either.
Yeah. I don't know. What's your period trauma?
Oh, good God. Okay. So now I have 2 stories. So like the first time I got my period, I was, my grandparents, this was before cell phones, and my grandparents and my mom went to Home Depot. They had to my mom, I think, was redoing the bathroom. And I went to the bathroom because I thought I peed myself.
Did you say that already?
I was 10. Mm-hmm. So I was young. Mm-hmm. And I looked down and there's blood. And mine was red. So I knew it was blood. And I sat there and I was like, I'm dying. I was so sure that was the end of my life.
That's
yeah. I knew what a period was. I knew all of that. I had stuff. I had gone. We talked about it in school and whatever. I was not completely
That
unaware
little
of what that
book that
was.
they sent me home with
Oh,
helped
yeah.
me so much more.
Yeah, no, for real. My mom, her like talk was about everything was, she walked in my room one night and I was like doing homework or whatever. And she was like, you know, if you have any questions about anything, there's really good books at the library, and close the door. And I was like, I don't even know what you're talking about. At this point, I had already been active. So I already had my period, like I already went through everything. I'm like, why are you coming to tell me this now? Like, did you think you did your due diligence by just saying that? Like, you didn't, that's not at all helpful.
I don't
You literally told me I can't talk to you about it.
I don't understand parents who have children and don't think about how they're going to handle those conversations.
I think with my mom, she didn't want me to grow up. So if we just like didn't talk about those things, it's like she didn't have to deal with it. Like I was just going to have to figure it out on my own because it was just too difficult for her to realize that I was growing up.
Got it. That's dangerous.
Yeah, absolutely. Made a lot of mistakes.
Yeah.
Could have learned. And I don't have siblings. So like I had no one to talk to about this. For a long time, my aunt and my mom or my grandparents were not talking to my aunt. So I couldn't call her. So like I really had my only cousin is like 2 years younger than me. Or she's not even my cousin. She's my second cousin. So like, I went through a lot of stuff earlier than most. When I got older, I had friends that had gone through it earlier, but I wasn't friends with them when I was going through it. So like, I just had no idea what I was in for. So I thought I was dying, sitting on the toilet, and I was like, I can't leave because I'm just going to bleed to death right here. So I'll just bleed into the toilet. And then like after 20 minutes, I wasn't bleeding that much. So I was like, all right, I guess I'll just like get up and go lay down while I die. And like it took them forever at Home Depot. It felt like they were gone for days.
I mean, doesn't it always?
Yeah. When you need someone, like it takes forever. And they get home and I tell my mom and she's like, oh, you got your period. Like, no big deal. She's like, oh, here, use this. Have fun. See you later. Yeah. The other story was, so I started using pads because I was so young. I was terrified to like put anything in my body. And
were you? I don't know. I think this might be more of a cult. No, maybe not. Like maybe like a more of a conservative thing. Like if you grew up with a more conservative family, but I wasn't allowed to use tampons.
Oh,
you can only
because you like
you're a virgin.
Virginity?
Yeah.
No, we didn't. I mean, they told us that in like catechism, but not in so many words because that would be too much, TMI. But my mom used tampons, so she was like, whatever, fuck it up. But the problem was she didn't tell me how to use it. So for anyone who doesn't know, there's like the part that goes in your body, and then there's like the plunger on the other end. So, and then there's the cotton on the inside. So you push the plunger up, and then the cotton is the only part that's supposed to stay in your body. Well, no one told me that. So I had the plastic applicator without the plunger. Like I took the plunger off. I'm just walking around and I'm like, this is so fucking painful. There's no way. No wonder why women are so fucking angry all the time.
Oh God.
And so I was like, I can't do this. Like I tried so many times. And my mom's like, I don't understand why it's so painful for you. Like you're just being a little baby. And I explained to her what I was doing, and she was like, well, don't tell me, like, look at the diagram in the box. And I'm okay. Eventually she figured out what I was doing. It was like, that's not how you do it. Still wouldn't show me, but was like, you need to not put any plastic in your body.
She could have like demonstrated it without
using any body part.
Literally just pulled it out and be like, this is how you do it. Like,
right. Yeah. Could have been so fucking easy. But yeah, no, that car ride was one of the most painful car rides of my life.
Poor thing. There are so many things that I didn't do like until I was an adult because like my mom like had either convinced me that I couldn't or shouldn't, or in some way or form. So like I didn't use like tampons until I was an adult. Fortunately, because when I was an adult I knew how to read. So plastic mishaps. I didn't.
I was so confused by that fucking diagram in there. Like, that didn't help me. And now, to this day, I look at it and I'm like, this is not that clear.
I mean, I got it the first try.
I'm just a moron. Thanks.
I didn't drink whole milk until I was an adult because I wasn't allowed to drink it as a kid.
Why? Like, it was too expensive?
2% milk. No, I honestly to this day do not know why I was only allowed 2% milk. To this day, I mean, I shouldn't have been drinking it at all because I am and always have been lactose intolerant.
Mm-hmm.
But it's so odd how moms pass on their insecurities, their
oh my God,
fears, their what's like an adjective form of being illogical?
How about just illogical?
Their irrationality.
Mm-hmm.
There we go.
Yeah.
They just it's
my
like
family's very like histrionic, so they're just like I don't never understood why everyone was so hysterical all the time.
Yeah.
And I still don't know. Like, they still act a mess, and I'm like, why are you guys freaking out? Like, what are you freaking out about? Did you so we're 90s kids, so like, you know, in the 90s it was all about like being as skinny as possible, and my mom definitely struggled with that. Like, she was constantly dieting and like I mean, literally starving herself. She had that like black coffee, can of tuna, and grapefruit. Like that, those were the only things she could eat for like a week, so she could drop like 20 pounds. Yeah, like all of that shit. And that it's so like, she didn't put that on me. Like, I could eat whatever I wanted when I was a kid, and that had adverse effects too, because I was eating like a whole box of Pop-Tarts a day, and then like 3 bowls of cereal, like Captain Crunch, and then putting more sugar on top of it. How I don't have diabetes, I don't know. It's coming. I know it's coming for me. But like, just watching her destroy herself, and like her low self-esteem, and just like not, you know, just like feeling bad about herself. It was so like, to this day, it's an issue like on a daily basis, because I didn't have any. And, you know, again, like, her mother was the same way. Like, it just keeps going back. Nobody ever dealt with that shit. And now on a daily basis, like, I'm still dealing with this. Like, I still have horrible self-esteem around, and then like just weird things around food, and, you know, just all of that.
Yeah. My mom, when I was growing up, both my parents, but my mom was morbidly obese when I was growing up. She had been sort of a thicker girl her whole life, and that was something that her mother used to torture her for.
Mm-hmm.
And by thicker, I mean, you know, when she was a kid, maybe 10 pounds overweight. And she definitely projected a lot of her self-hate onto me. I was an obese child, you know, being raised by obese parents, but all of the things that she hated about her body, she would definitely say to me and project onto me. And she got weight loss surgery when I was in high school, end of high school-ish. So she eventually got to a healthy weight and was able to maintain it until she died. But the food, it's very odd to be like in a home with an obese parent being degraded for being obese. It's like, it's very hard to understand, like, to process at a young age, I mean, I think in the back of it, you don't have the words to articulate. Like, yeah, she's saying to me the things she says to herself, right?
Yeah, you don't realize that at the time.
But it's like something is very wrong and off here.
Yeah.
And then when it came to food was such a point of comfort and bonding for us that it became this like really toxic cycle of food where you take pleasure from food, but you also feel extremely guilty and like shit after you eat it. So like we would, like I full disclosure, did not have a good relationship with my mother. She was, not a great mom. And I don't have very many happy memories from my childhood, especially with her. But one thing that was our thing, and I think, and this is sort of a larger conversation, but I think this is true for a lot of like fat families or like codependent, like parent-child relationships where our routine was shopping and then eating. You would go out to shop and then you would go out to lunch after.
Yeah.
And that is and also we were poor. So that was often the only
so there's
really
that guilt and like toxic cycle behind that too. Like so I'm an only child. I'm sorry to cut you off, but like that just reminded me how parallel that like my mom's relationship with me and food and my mom's relationship with me and money were very similar in that like I need money and food to live. And like both of these things can bring you pleasure if you do them right, but also like kind of not intentionally necessarily, but feeling guilty that my mom's spending money on me for either food or whatever, clothes, whatever I needed, even though she didn't have it. So there's like, oh, well, this is like your fault that I don't have any money to spend, but you require money to be alive. So I'm going to just complain afterwards about how expensive everything is, but also not like tell you like it's okay, like it's just like it's
not your fault or
right,
or maybe
or
not
like
complain at all. Complain to your adult friends. How about that?
right like why am I getting involved in this?
Yeah,
sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
No, it's fine. So that was like our primary form of bonding was eating, and then like I said, we were poor, so our luxury was food. We weren't taking trips or having experiences, but we could, afford to eat at a, Fridays a couple times a month. And so that's, that's what we did. And also being poor, you don't have necessarily access to good foods. And this is 90s, impoverished neighborhood, food desert. So everything is welfare. So, I really only had fresh foods for maybe the first couple weeks of the month. And the rest of the month is all like processed foods, cooked foods. Food and poverty are so related, like how even if you have the money for fresh ingredients, do you have the energy? Has your depression subsided enough today to actually be able to?
Or do you have enough time in between the 9 jobs that you're working and all the kids that you have and all the family members that you have to take care of? Yeah.
It's a lot. So, so for me and my mom, that cycle of food and poverty and resentment was very like a toxic soup, very toxic soup.
I had an interesting dynamic with my family members because my mom would we would numb with food. So like, let's indulge in this and like you can have a treat or a snack or whatever in order to make yourself feel better about the bad day that you had. And like these are all comfort foods. And my mom, like I ate really healthy when I was a kid, but I also had access to all of the crap.
Right.
So it was both.
Right. And that's probably where you weren't obese and I was. I didn't have.
No, I was overweight. I remember buying. We had to buy the Husky pants, and it got to the point where like I had to wear Like I was like in 5th grade and I had to wear clothes for like high school students because
quick diversion. Let's talk about that real quick because
about Husky, how that used to be
the
a thing.
clothing.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I grew out of. I don't think I ever wore children's sizes.
Yeah.
Like I was like,
well, you've always been tall too.
Yeah, exactly. So I had older sisters who were 8 and 9 years older than me. And I would wear their clothes because they fit. They were average sizes for, their age and their height.
Mm-hmm.
But I was like 10 years old wearing their hand-me-downs. But that being said, I was the flyest 10-year-old in school because my sisters had jobs in style. So I was wearing lots of Express. That was it back in the day in New York and all that type of shit. But I remember trying to go and find my mom trying to find jeans for me, and the combination of weight and height made it so that literally no pants would fit me, because they were made for women's bodies.
Right. Yeah. I always had to have my pants hemmed because for my like waist and everything else, I had to. It's mostly my hips that have always been the largest part of my body, and in order for anything to fit that, my pants had to be so long because they were made for someone who's like 6 feet tall, and so my grandmother would hem my pants. But she would always hem them too short. So there were always like floodwaters just walking around like, it was so
bad all around. I'm sorry, I cut you off.
That's okay. The fucking clothes were traumatizing. I remember all those magazines they used to send us, and then like you couldn't afford anything in it, and you wanted to be cool and trendy and like wear all of those things, but you also like not only could you not afford it, but like if your mom could afford one shirt, it never fit because it was made for some like 90s like Kate Moss type, and I was not that. So like I would be trying to fit into these clothes. It was a mess. So yeah, my mom is like, and she's still like this to this day, eat to feel better kind of thing. Yeah. And then my grandfather would like spoil me and take me to McDonald's and take me to go and get ice cream and stuff like that. But then he would make fun of me and be like, you're a fat kid. Like you need to lose weight. Like, this is why you get bullied at school. He would do it really jokingly. Like he thought he was being funny, but it's so fucking painful.
It's not what we're maybe we also need to have a conversation about the men in our family. Because boy, do I have stories about the bully, like actual, not teasing, actual bullying.
The criticism.
The adults in the family.
Yeah, my family's extremely critical and judgmental. Yeah. And now as an adult, I can look back on it and be like, that's what they're saying to themselves.
Yeah.
But at the time, I don't even know that would have helped me because it was so painful. And I was like, these are the people that are supposed to be taking care of me, and they think that I'm like this fat fuck. Like, this is horrible.
Also, these are the people who are responsible for feeding me. Like, you're blaming me for
like, you created this. Like you're the reason why I look like this.
You put it in front of my face.
Right. If you don't like it, then don't feed me like that. Yeah.
Shit's wild. Do you think that your mom's weight issues came from her mom?
Yeah. My grandmother's always been overweight. She's always used food. You know what? As I've gotten older, I don't think she's used food to like numb herself. I think she used it to disguise herself. She was abused when she was a kid badly. And I think she wanted to hide. Yeah. And so she, put a lot of weight on. Once she got my grandfather, she was like, all right, whatever, fuck it up. He's not going anywhere. I got a good one. Yeah. And so they, she just kept putting more and more weight on. And now she's doing the opposite, which is wild to see. She was always she used to be like 5'2". She's now under 5 feet. She was always over 200 pounds.
Oh, wow. I didn't realize she was that
thick woman. Very, very thick.
Yeah.
And now she's around 100 pounds. Oof. She lost the whole person. She's so frail. Like you can see every bone in her skull. Mm-hmm. it's not good. And she's literally just not eating. Like she's starving herself.
Yeah. Waiting to die.
I mean, I have a theory that she's never really wanted to live. And so she's just been kind of waiting to die her whole life. Like she's never taken care of herself. I don't think she feels like she deserves it because she never healed that like childhood wound of receiving unconditional love and like actually being cared for. They were just, supposed to take care of the farm and the crops and whatever, and take care of themselves. And then she had kids so young, so she was just kind of always a caregiver. Yeah. And when you are a caregiver in any sense, like whether you're taking care of your kids or your family members or your parents, whatever, you always end up putting yourself not as a priority. Like you just get whatever is left over. So I don't think she knows how to take care of herself. So yeah, my mom has now inherited that, and doesn't know how to take care of herself. We always put ourselves last. My grandfather's the same way. He's like, work first, and then, when I'm about to pass out, then I'll eat something, and then I got to get right back to work. Like our value is all in what we produce. Yeah,
that World War II mentality. Yeah. Suffering through life until it's over. So life is about suffering. Life is about enduring suffering. Yeah. That's certainly how I was raised. My mom is definitely a product of my mom is a baby boomer, just like your mom. Well, she would have been. She was. And I think that the silent generation, I guess, is what our grandparents are called, right? Yeah, like I think that they, because so much of their lives are suffering, we're still sort of feeling that they've passed on that, life isn't really about pleasure. It's about making it through. Yeah. And not even in like a great way, just making it through until you die. How is their relationship now?
My grandparents with each other?
Your mom and her.
Or my mom. Really bad. Really bad. I think Ralph, this show is not about you. We'll have a show about you, okay?
We can talk about your mom later, Ralph.
But his mom is my mom, so it's all the same. We're siblings. I think all this stuff that's going on with my grandparents and their health, and my mom having to take care of my grandparents more, and them like never putting things in place, has really brought up a lot of stuff for my mom. And she's realizing now that she never dealt with stuff from when she was a teenager and in her 20s. Things just kind of got better because she had me. And so they were like, well, we're going to be nicer to you, because I don't think this was like a conscious decision. Maybe it was. My grandmother's pretty manipulative. We're going to have to be nicer to you and like deal with you because we have a granddaughter now. And then, now I'm an adult, and things, my mom's finally realizing like nothing's ever changed. Yeah. My grandmother is still the same 15-year-old girl. Like she really never matured. And my mom's really resentful about it.
Yeah. Yeah. I hope that your mom, sooner rather than later, I think the key, your mom doesn't strike me as like a particularly happy person.
No. She pretends like she is. She tells me that she is. Yeah. And I'm like, you are so out to lunch.
But my hope for her is that she's just like able to let go. I think that's going to be what saves her, like what frees her from all. She is like, especially around her parents. She needs to let go. My grandmother was an incredibly abusive woman. She had
your mom's mom.
Yeah, she had both of them.
Both, yeah.
Yeah. My mom's mom was incredibly physically abusive to her children
Mm.
and like psychologically abusive, especially as they got older. And I think what was so hard for my mom is that she just felt very alone
Mm-hmm.
her whole life. I don't think she ever her dad died when she was really young, and he was basically the one who was keeping the abuse at bay. And I think when he died, she felt very alone. Like
Yeah. How
um,
old was she when he died?
she was 9.
Oh, yeah.
And I think that the way she talks about him, I think that he may have been the only person to have loved her unconditionally, and like in a pure way. And like I said, my mom was always my grandmother was a very beautiful woman, like beautiful, like extremely beautiful, tall, statuesque. And she definitely, for her daughters, I have an aunt on that side. For her daughters, that was such a point of torture, was around their bodies and their image, like pitting them against each other and comparing them to each other, and doing just, I don't want to tell too many of my mom's stories because those are, her stories to tell. Maybe one day she'll, give me permission to tell those. Like she'll sort of come to me and I'll feel like I have permission to tell those. But she like things that if they had been done now, my grandmother would have been in prison, type, maybe not. Yeah, prison. Type level of stuff. So when my grandmother was dying, my grandmother died in 2007. And she died a predictable death. So they were, but when she died, my mom still had so much unresolved stuff.
Mm-hmm.
All of her siblings did. All of my moms did. There was so much unresolved stuff left. And they would do things that I just wouldn't understand. Like they would still speak about their mother in these really endearing ways. And I had to have a conversation with her. I'm like, this isn't what she was like. Like you're memorializing a person that was never good to you. And this isn't good for you to pretend like this is a good relationship. So that is why I'm saying that my hope for your mother is that she's able to resolve those feelings before her mom dies. When my mom died, I had already reached a place of resolving those feelings. Mm-hmm. And I think that is why I handled her death with so much stride. Like I took it very, very much in stride. But it was because I had let go already. I had let go while she was still like healthy driving around. And it was like, this is who you are. I feel very sorry for you. I pity you. I hope that you can find happiness. It is my ultimate hope for you, but I have let go. So yeah, hopefully your mom.
What gave you the what happened that you just felt like you needed to do that, or did it just happen? Because if she was healthy and like nothing was going on, like usually there's some sort of catalyst, especially for something that deep and painful and pervasive.
About going low contact with my mom?
No, just like being able to move on, like realize that she's a human and she made the decision that she made, but you can't let it stop you and like ruin your life.
Yeah, I think I had just I had reached. So we're getting deep today. So I had gone no contact with both of my parents around 2015. I'd gone no contact with my dad. I was never completely no contact with my mom, just very low contact. But I had gone no contact with my dad. And I was 24-ish, 24, 25. And I just reached a point where I was done with it. And I don't remember the moment or anything, but I think I just kind of sat with myself and was like, what's the worst thing that could happen if I never speak to any of like what or not even, but like two things, right? So the first is like, what the world isn't going to end if I don't talk to my abusive parents. Like, I'm not going to drop dead. Like, there's no catastrophe or calamity that's going to happen if I don't speak to my parents. And then the second thought, especially around my mother, was what does it benefit me to have her in my life? Mm-hmm. What happiness or comfort, or literally every time I would see my mother's name on my phone, this dread and anxiety rush over. She could be calling me to talk about her favorite movie being on. But it's like,
you don't know what's going to happen and what she's going to say. And
what law, what rule is it that I have to deal with this? Who says I have to deal with this feeling just because she's my mom or just because these are my parents? I don't have to deal with this. And I had sent her a very long conversation. I didn't just like completely disappear, but I expressed myself. I made it very clear. I don't remember, because it was so many years ago, I don't remember exactly what I said, but what I think I made it pretty clear that I couldn't interact with her the way she was. I told her that if she wanted me to join her in therapy, I would be more than willing, but that was really the only conversation I was willing to have at that time. And it was such a relief. It was so relieving when I let go of that sense of obligation. So I think that what holds a lot of us in these toxic relationships with our family, with our parents, with our mothers, is a sense of obligation. This is mom, you have to talk to her, you have to be in their life. And when I let go of that, because that is when I let go of my sense of obligation, period, to anyone, anything. I'm like, I'm not, especially to my parents, I'm not obligated to do a damn thing. I didn't ask for this world. I didn't ask for any of this. And also, our relationship is not my fault. The way that we are interacting, this animosity that we have, the way that I can be incredibly disrespectful sometimes when I speak, because you feel those types of guilt sometimes, especially when they die. But it's like, no, you set this up. You this dynamic.
And I'm not going to continue to be in this relationship because this is not the way that I want this relationship to go. Yeah,
exactly. So that's kind of so like I said, after that conversation, we talked maybe twice more before she died. And it wasn't actual, like, real conversations. The last time I saw my mom, it was like 3 or 4 days before she died. I had moved into a place that was within walking distance to her, a bit of a hike, but still within walking distance. And I refused to tell her my address. And I was coming home from work one day. I was walking home, and she drove past in her car, and she was smiling at me. And I don't know what in that moment, but I just stopped and smiled, and I waved back at her. And me and my mother did not have very many pleasant interactions. And so as I kept walking, she called me, and I decided to pick up the phone, which I had not done in many, many months. And we had like a 3-minute conversation. She told me I looked great. This is also around the time where I had started losing a bunch of weight. And it was just a very nice, pleasant conversation, and that was my last conversation with my mom. And I feel really good about it. I feel really good about that. Our last interaction was something just like mundane and pleasant and casual, because that's something that I had with her ever. The next time I saw my mom, she was, already in a coma, or in a hospital bed. I also believe that she waited on me to die. We got the call. I have a sister who lives in Maryland, and me and my other sister, we live up here. And so me and my other sister went down, and my mom had, gone to the hospital so many times. So for the first few hours, me and my sister were not taking it seriously whatsoever. You know what I mean? Like, we thought she'd be fine the next day in a few hours, because my mom had so many surgeries. My life had been in hospitals, essentially. So again, not thinking that this was the final day, called my sister. I'm like, she's in the hospital. It's, it is one of the serious ones this time, because my mom would sometimes go to the hospital for not serious problems at all.
That's my grandmother.
And so my sister was coming up. And so it was like 4 a.m. I'm like, all right, I've been here since like 7, 8. I'm going home. Literally, as soon as I walked in the door, my sister called me and was like, the doctor said to come back. And I literally turned around. Like, I didn't even get a chance to take my coat off. I turned around, I went back, and she died like 10, 15 minutes after I got back. And I don't want this isn't a sad story to me.
Yeah.
I am so at peace, with how things ended for us. I think that, I'm not like a particularly like spiritual person or anything like that, but I do like sort of call on my mom. But one of the things that her death really made me, or it made, like, her dying made me appreciate her a little more. It made me appreciate the parts of her that were good, like that I admired. And they like, I was able to, it's sort of weird because with her dying, I was able to almost remove myself from her a little more. And that is what helped me appreciate her more, because I was able to see her in a little more removed way. So my mom's name is Robin. So as I was going through my adult life, because my mom died when I was 25, I think. I'm 31 now, going on 32. And one of the mantras I would start saying to myself, and I would be going through like a situation where I didn't know what to do, or somebody was trying me or some shit, I would be in my mind, I would go, what would Robin do? Like, what would Robin do in this situation? Because she would always, that was one of her qualities. She would always be able to handle a situation. Very, very talented with that. So, I think that, this all started with me, a 30-year-old, giving your 60-year-old mother advice on how to
I gotta do it all the time.
But what I'm trying to say is that I think that it is important to be honest about who our parents are, especially our mothers, because we do have it is a different type of bond. This is the person who gave birth to you, like,
right.
It is a different, like her DNA, her mitochondrial DNA is what they're going to use to identify your body in 300 years when they dig you out the permafrost, right? So I think that
it's coming, hopefully soon.
We are going through an extinction event right now, but we'll talk about that some other time. But no, I think it's important to be honest about who your parents are, and then give yourself permission to interact with them in a way that's going to be most healthy for you.
Yeah. Something that also helped me a lot, I think I started to realize that my family members are real people and not like the superheroes that we all think our family members are when we're kids.
Mm-hmm.
Like you think somewhat so highly of someone, and then you realize like they make mistakes. They're adults. They're just struggling through things
Sometimes
too.
they're straight up bad people.
Yeah.
You didn't know it when you were a kid, but then you get to be an adult and you're like, oh, you are a real piece of shit.
Yeah. So I was like 15 when I started to have all those realizations, and I internalized it and got really angry and resentful. And over the years, I've learned that in order to, like, that doesn't help me. Mm-hmm. You can use that anger and that resentment to like power you through something, but ultimately it's just like festering and feels bad. Mm-hmm. So something that really helped me is when you know better, you do better. Mm-hmm. And I know that for my mom anyway, when she knows better, she does do better, because I've seen her learn and grow over the years. And it makes like some of the things that she did, her specifically, other family members, questionable. But my mom does love me unconditionally, and she does want to do the best. And she is a really great mom. She just has a lot of shortcomings, like a lot of parents do. Like I don't know that any parent is ever ready to be a parent. So you're gonna make mistakes, and you're an adult, and we're all living in this weird fucking world.
Is it a world though, or is it?
No, I think it's a simulation. Yeah, I don't know what this is. We're in The Sims. And like that really helped me, because then I think it ultimately helped me forgive myself, because I grew up with so much criticism around me that if I made mistakes, it made me feel like I was a bad person. And so when I was like, oh, they made mistakes, but that doesn't necessarily mean that they're bad people. So I can make mistakes, and that doesn't necessarily mean that I'm a bad person. Mm-hmm. So, yeah, I don't know. Hopefully that helps somebody.
Yeah, I mean, I think that you and I have both reached where we are with our parents in different ways. Yeah. I think that's part of it. Like I said, you have to navigate these things in a way that is most healthy for you. And what's better. It's okay to be selfish sometimes.
Yeah, you have to be. No one else is really looking out for you. You have to take care of yourself.
Yeah. Oof. Heavy.
Good Lord.
Heavy Wednesday, everybody. Hug your moms. Tell them how you feel. Tell them you love them if you do. And if you don't, that's okay too. Mm-hmm. And sad babes out.
We're going to go cry now.